What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of modern technology is the idea of crowdfunding. You can now personally support any developer making something you'd like to play. The problem is that a lot of this stuff ends up really bad if it comes out at all. This week, I would look at the projects that are the most awesome on my picks for the top 10 Kickstarter games that don't suck. Number 10. The Banner Saga. In the frozen north, a group of cold travelers leave their homes in an act of pure desperation. They must always march forward or the monsters following them will eventually catch up and consume their party. So begins the tale of Banner Saga, but how it ends can be as happy or as sad as you make it. Embarking on a journey this difficult means that we're often faced with hard decisions. Do you allow hungry villagers to join your troops even though they can't help you fight, or do you leave them to freeze? Will you combine forces with an enemy army to win a battle despite the fact that they may later betray you? This project proved to big developers that people have been wanting a deep story built on the challenges that come from the raw need to survive no matter the odds. Number 9. Elite Dangerous. There seems to have been so many bland space games that have come out over the years. I feel like what they all lacked was a real heart and soul. If you're creating a universe that's billions of miles wide, then you better fill it with a genuine sense of life and passion so that players crave exploring every inch of it. That was the rather daunting goal of the guys behind Elite Dangerous, but surprisingly they pulled it off. We take on the role of a lone pilot setting out on his adventure in a tiny ship. From here you can complete quests, run cargo for companies, or just say screw the rules and become a pirate. There are nearly endless possibilities spread out before us, but that by itself wouldn't be enough. Elite Dangerous works so well because of that unique spark of realism that makes you want to keep flying across the next horizon just to see what else can exist. Number 8. Superhot. What if you suddenly found yourself in a dimension where time and space were one thing? That means for every step you take, you go into the future, but when you stop walking, the world grinds to a halt. Now imagine you're a super skilled assassin left alone in a room filled with people who want to see you bleeding and dead. This simple premise is the background to Superhot, and yet what's really important is the hilarious experience of being the ultimate action hero. In one level, you can dodge a bullet, shoot someone in the face, punch a guard, and throw a beer bottle all in the span of 2 seconds. There's a flawless liquid flow to every activity that makes even the most brutally broken situations seem like fun. What makes this gameplay so much more epic to me though is that it was all made by a few friends who wanted to build a game that would test how everyone saw first-person shooters. Number 7. Shadowrun Returns. If there's one genre that's strangely overlooked, it's tactical RPGs. These projects often sell millions of copies due to their incredibly dedicated fans, but major designers must not enjoy making them because they're very rare. Thankfully, in the age of Kickstarter, we're finally witnessing a new dawn for these role-playing games. Shadowrun Returns takes place in a dark, cybernetic world where humans, elves, and orcs must all make peace in a troubled society. Picture it as Lord of the Rings, but with a lot more laser rifles and hookers. This is a relatively quiet era, that is until your boss suddenly turns up dead. The moment his heart stops, you're automatically sent an email promising $100,000 to avenge his demise. It's a shocking setup to begin such a twisted story, and it's the reason that Shadowrun remains so popular years after its initial release. When you find yourself craving some deep plot and intricate combat, pick this up. Number 6. Faster Than Light. In any conversation about the hardest games ever, normally titles like Dark Souls and Bloodborne are thrown around. Little do they know that true, entertaining frustration happens not in sword fights, but in the middle of a ship on fire. Faster Than Light puts you in command of a vessel assigned the mission of delivering a vital message to the other side of a galaxy amidst a chaotic war. Your job is to decide what each crew member needs to do during the hazardous trip. On the surface, it may appear pretty simple, but when it comes down to choices like turning off your shields to shoot your guns at a rival ship, or disabling life support so that you can channel that energy into your thrusters and escape, it can be very tough. FTL is the master of stacking harsh encounters on the player while still maintaining an addictive feeling that you might be able to win. Just beating the story can take 20 or even 100 tries, but when you finally see those credits, you'll know you're a badass. Number 5. Broken Age. Reading about classic game directors has always been a hobby of mine, and few figures are more intriguing than Tim Schafer. His taste for development is so unique that many of his titles almost defy explanation. When he asked for crowdfunding to make a point-and-click adventure, obviously the internet responded with overwhelming donations. The finished product is a gorgeous blend of silly plot, cool art, and devious puzzles. Broken Age follows the tale of two seemingly random teenagers born into rather messed up lives. Vela was destined to be the sacrifice that her village demands to keep the evil demon Mog from getting angry and destroying their town. Shay is a young man raised in a tiny pod floating in orbit around Earth by supercomputers that teach him lessons and feed him. These predicaments are so peculiar that you can't help but want to know more. How are these worlds so tainted? Can things be fixed? And will Tim Schafer ever stop fanning himself with Kickstarter money? Number 4. Pillars of Eternity. There are many projects that claim to be over 100 hours long, but rarely do they really meet that standard. In order to make something that massive, you're required to have a team of talented writers, programmers who don't mind dumping years into making castles to wander through, and gamers who are eager to chop up millions of monsters. Pillars of Eternity manages to fulfill its promise of being a phenomenal top-down dungeon-crawling experience. Trekking through darkened lands, you'll quickly find yourself immersed in the wonderful lore of this shadowy country. In a forest, you may find a person who's just run away from a werewolf, and now you're asked to discover who in town is infected with the curse. Maybe instead, you're more worried about getting better gear, so you investigate a rumor of a legendary sword at the bottom of a nearby crypt. Rather than aiming you in a particular direction, Eternity only focuses on establishing an epic world around us. Mash these storytelling elements together with its barrage of nasty creatures, and you have a quest that's worthy of playing again and again. Number 3. Hyper Light Drifter. The Legend of Zelda is often regarded as the most influential game in history. With its 8-bit graphics, straightforward control scheme, and fantastic environments, it inspired a generation to rethink how we saw gameplay as a whole. There are some that believe that nothing can improve on this basically perfect adventure, but right when you'd think that, Hyper Light Drifter comes in to teach us how it's done. With almost no dialogue, we're shown the opening steps into a world that's clearly been destroyed by something. Our hero is a nameless swordsman who's extremely gifted with his blade, but seems to be dying of a mysterious illness. Battles between these dangerous murder robots are sprinkled among scenes of us just wandering through unknown ruins of what may have been cities, and shots of our character coughing up blood. This backdrop leaves you with so many questions, but much like the first Zelda, the lack of answers is a huge driving force to keep you moving. As each boss falls, there's a haunting sense that this may be some sort of horrible nightmare, and possibly not your own. Number 2. Darkest Dungeon. The word defeat is not typically used as a positive term. When someone describes being utterly annihilated in combat, we want to comfort them and say that they'll win next time. Darkest Dungeon attempts to change the way we view victory and loss by creating a project where losing is not only common, but essentially required. We play as a dude who just inherited a giant house, which is great until you learn that underneath your new home is a nest of freakish monsters and people who have been driven insane. It's now up to us to wipe out this den of ghouls, and yet doing so is going to demand patience, good gear, and the ability to think carefully under pressure. This game invents a ton of mechanics to make every fight mind-bendingly difficult. For one thing, you can do stuff like screw with your foe's team balance by doing stuff like pulling their healers to the front row and shredding them with your warriors. The downside is that they can do that to you as well. That makes each encounter extra intense as you try and calculate your foe's upcoming attacks so you can properly defend, but what got me killed most is the stress system. Heroes will actually begin to break down emotionally as things get bad, so make sure you take a deep breath in real life before this crowd-funded tension test pushes you off the edge. Number 1. Shovel Knight. How could I put anything else at the top of this list? Shovel Knight, in my opinion, is the king of Kickstarter and showed the world that even a retro-style beat-em-up can be full of new ideas. The studio behind this amazing pixelated brawler has said in interviews that they grew up loving NES titles like Mega Man, Castlevania, and DuckTales, but noticed that this method of design sadly died out after the 90s. During a long lunch break one day, they all sat down and started drawing plans for an old-school hack-and-slash game that wouldn't worry about plot twists or or being 3D, but instead just give us flawless shoveling action. Progressing through this adventure isn't about what upgrades you have, the magic you've unlocked, or even your favorite attack style. All that really matters is being faster, smarter, and deadlier than the person in front of you. Every level is a gorgeous gauntlet of crazy jumps and cool hidden treasure to keep you addicted to the charming gameplay. For its hilarious enemies, stellar chiptune soundtrack, and ability to be just as fun the 50th time you've played it as the first, I am awarding this my pick as the Kickstarter game that definitely doesn't suck. Did your favorite crowdfunded project not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Did you know that there's actually a Kickstarted Dreamcast game? Yes, there is. It's called Pier Solar and the Great Architects, and it's pretty legit. It's an old school turn-based RPG, and since I Kickstarted it, it's got all this like extra stuff like stickers, and I don't know, I find this kind of stuff very interesting, especially because this is probably one of the most beautiful Dreamcast game like discs of all time. So good on you guys. Totally independently made and really freaking cool. Oh god. Okay, I may have to put this in the outtakes. I can't put this case back together. What did I do? I run a successful YouTube channel. I can't fucking put an instruction booklet. Okay, I'm just gonna set this on the floor and walk away. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, maybe check out my last video. Please subscribe, and if you want, share this somewhere with your friends.